Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Group 5 and here we will present our result of our discussion. And it's about physical laws governing energy flow and chemical cycling in ecosystem. Before we start our presentation, let me introduce the members of the Group 5. There are Vivi, Nurlailia Apriliana, and Wanda Sofia Khairuddina, who will present the definition of ecosystem. And then me, Wening Krishna Rahma Mahdia, will present physical laws govern energy flow and chemical cycling in ecosystem. And then Aliatul Masuda will present conservation of energy. And then Tazlina Aisyah who will present the conservation of mass, and then Widi Arifa will present the conservation of mass too. And the last one is Ahmad Jalaluddin, who will present the energy level, mass, and traffic. Let's start the presentation from the definition of ecosystem.
Okay, I want to explain about definition of ecosystem. An ecosystem is defined as a dynamic complex of plant, animals, and microorganism community and their non-living environment that interact as a functional unit. In an ecosystem, all living organisms, including humans, form community that interact with each other and with the air, water, and soil. Okay, next. Ecosystem include desert, forest, mountain, wetland, riparian, rivers and stream, and agricultural landscape. Okay, next.
Then I will present about components in an ecosystem. An ecosystem has two components. They are biotic components consisting of living things that include humans, animals, and plants. And then the abiotic portion consisting of elements that are not alive, such as air, water, and so on. Then the non-living constituents are said to include the following category: habitat, gases, solar radiation, temperature, moisture, inorganic and organic nutrients. Then the living organisms may be subdivided into producer, consumers, and decomposers. Abiotic components include basic, inorganic, and organic components of the environment or habitat of the organisms. The inorganic components of an ecosystem are carbon dioxide, water nitrogen, calcium phosphate, all of which are involved in the metabolic biochemical cycles. Next.
Now I will present the physical govern energy flow and chemical cycling in ecosystem. Energy flow is a sequence of transfer from one form of energy to another, starting from sunlight and then to producers, to primary consumers who are herbivores, and then to higher consumers who are carnivores, and to saprobes. Energy flow can also mean the transfer of energy from one trophic level to the next. One way to maintain the balance of the ecosystem that is carried out by the ecosystem itself is to maintain the circulation of energy and nutrients received from outside sources. The source of external energy in question is sunlight. Sunlight will be captured by plants and used for growth. The role of sunlight in influencing plant growth is one of the conditions for photosynthesis. So photosynthesis in occur. It is in this process that energy from the sun is converted into chemical energy that can be used by heterotrophs through the food chain. The photosynthetic efficiency of plants is very important for the survival of living things. Okay, next.
I will present about conservation of energy. Energy conservation or energy saving is an action to reduce the use of new, renewable, and non-renewable energy. According to the laws of thermodynamics, energy can neither be created nor destroyed, but can be converted into other forms of energy. Energy can be transferred into other forms, such as chemical energy, mechanical energy, electrical energy, and also heat energy. The change from one form of energy to another is known as energy transformation. The sequence of transfer from one form of energy to another is called energy flow, starting from sunlight and then to producer, to primary consumer or herbivores, to higher consumer or carnivores, to subcrops. Sunlight is an external energy source that plays a role in the circulation of energy and nutrients in order to maintain the balance of the ecosystem. Sunlight as a condition for photosynthesis. It is in this process that energy from the sun is converted into semi-cell energy that can be used by heterotrophs through the food chain. Plant efficiency is very important for living things. If the sun did not continuously provide energy to the earth, most of the ecosystem would disappear. That's because the energy flowing through the ecosystem is eventually dissipated into space as heat. Okay, next.
Okay. Now a present of conservation of mass. Matter, like energy, cannot be created or destroyed. This law of conservation of mass is important for ecosystem as the laws of thermodynamics are. Because mass is conserved, we can determine how much of a chemical element cycles within an ecosystem or is gained or lost by that ecosystem over time. Next, unlike energy, chemical elements are continually recycled within ecosystem. A carbon atom in carbon dioxide is released from the soil by a decomposer, taken up by a grass through photosynthesis, consumed by a bison or other grass, and returned to the soil in the bison waste.
The measurement and analysis of Chemical cycling within ecosystem and in the biosphere as a whole are an important aspect of ecosystem ecology. Although elements are not significantly gained or lost on a global scale, they can be gained by or lost from a particular ecosystem. Next, in nature, most gain and losses to ecosystem are small compared to the amount recycled within them. Still, the balance between inputs and outputs determine whether an ecosystem is a source or a sink for a given element. If a mineral nutrient output exceeds its inputs, it will eventually limit production in that system. Human activities often change the balance of inputs and outputs considerably.
Now, the energy level mass and tropic. Tropic level is lecture of a group of organisms that have curtains, food circles. There are several tropic levels in ecosystem. It depends on several factors, one of which is the amount of energy that goes into the ecosystem. However, the tropic rate can be shared by four: producers, consumers, decomposers, and detritivore. Producer, autotroph organisms that can make their own food. Example, green plants. Consumers, heterotroph organisms that cannot make their own food. Example, herbivore, carnivore, and omnivore. Decomposer, organisms that describe the rest of the organic material into an inorganic material for its survival. Example, microorganism and mushroom. Detritivore, organisms that can detect organic certificates. Example, earthworm and centipede. Next, the tropic rat is depicted in a form of food pyramids to facilitate classification. The level is level 1, green plants or producer. Level 2, animal that eat plants or herbivore. Level 3, animals that are to herbivore or carnivore. Level 4, animal who prey on other carnivores. Level 5, the animal of the food chain or predator pig. The tropic level determines how energy flows through the ecosystem. The grouping of species at tropic points help us in discussing relationship between species. But energy transfer cannot be 100% efficient because some energy will be wasted in the process of respiration, motion, heat, and excretion.
I think that's all for our presentation. Thanks for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.